interesting facts about famous people.
Vietnam War movies. A complicated subject in many ways. I know many of my viewers lived and some served through this difficult time in history. Today we will look at some movies that tackle this subject in serious and humorous ways. Any war is ugly, but should be studied. Our culture often uses war as a mirror to us and can't be ignored. Perhaps we humans will learn our lessons. If you enjoy this video, hit the notification button to get my new videos. If you want to check out my many other videos, head over to my channel. The link is in the description. Let's get into it in no particular order. Rescue Dawn, 2006. A US fighter pilot's epic struggle to survive after being shot down on a mission over Laos during the Vietnam War. Christian Bale, Jeremy Davies, and Steve Zahn give incredibly physically brutal performances as prisoners of war in Werner Herzog's intimate depiction of survival in Vietnam. A departure from the director's more experimental art house ventures, Bale stars as the real-life Dieter Dengler, a naval pilot who was shot down over Laos, imprisoned and repeatedly tortured for 6 months before escaping and rescue. Dieter Dengler was captured not once but twice in real life. The scene where he was captured while drinking from a river is based on his second capture. Those are real maggots Christian Bale is eating. Jeremy Davies lost 33 pounds for his role.
I will eat my race. 2.5 years ago?
Keep your head down, your mouth shut. That's your best chance of surviving.
Coming Home, 1978. Jon Voight and Jane Fonda both won Oscars for their roles in Hal Ashby's drama. The latter's win was most controversial considering her anti-war stance at a 1972 trip to North Vietnam that earned her the nickname Hanoi Jane. Fonda played a woman whose husband served in active combat in Vietnam and volunteers at a local VA hospital. There she meets and begins an affair with a paraplegic Vietnam vet who struggles to reconcile his experience in the war and his reassimilation into a country in which he feels unwelcome. The opening scene where the vets in the hospital are talking was unscripted. They were real Vietnam vets discussing their own views about the war. Jon Voight was supposed to have added to the dialogue, but out of respect stayed silent and listened. Good Morning Vietnam, 1987. Robin Williams earned an Oscar nomination for his role as Adrian Cronauer, a DJ who goes to Vietnam to bring an inspired liveliness and entertainment to the armed forces radio. He of course clashes with the top brass, who finds his humorous delivery unorthodox. He also experiences the realities of war firsthand in his interactions with the Vietnamese, slowly learning the truth that doesn't end up on the broadcast. Robin Williams ad-libbed all of Adrian Cronauer's broadcasts. At one point there was plans for a sequel titled Good Morning Chicago, which would have featured Cronauer as a reporter at the 1968 Democratic National Convention. While a script was written, the proposed sequel was eventually scrapped.
Roy, well, you guys, you take care of yourselves. I won't forget you. All right, guys, let's say goodbye to the radio star. We're out
here. Born on the 4th of July, 1989. Another of Oliver Stone's many stories of the Vietnam War, winning a second Best Director Oscar. Born on the 4th of July is based on the memoir of anti-war activist Ron Kovic, played by Tom Cruise, telling the tale of the man's earnest quest to serve his country in Vietnam. Once paralysed in the war, he returned home to a country he feels has betrayed him and focuses his anger into activism by speaking out against it. The real Ron Kovic gave Tom Cruise his Bronze Star for his performance in this movie. Oliver Stone was presented his Best Director Oscar for this film by his former film school teacher, Martin Scorsese.
We're gonna stay in Ron. We understand.
Platoon, 1986. Oliver Stone winning his first Oscar for Best Director for Platoon, which itself earned a Best Picture Oscar. Charlie Sheen plays a young recruit who gives up his privileged spot in college to volunteer for duty in Vietnam. He quickly learns he is but a cog rather than an essential player in the conflict. He witnesses the worst of humanity on both sides of the conflict, suffering a psychological break after witnessing the massacre of a village of innocents at the hands of his fellow members of his platoon. According to Oliver Stone, he intentionally cast Tom Berenger and William Dafoe against type. Berenger was mostly famous for playing good guys, while Dafoe had primarily played villains up until then. Both men received Oscar nominations for their work. Full Metal Jacket, 1987. Stanley Kubrick's take on the war film is, naturally, slightly off-centre, following Matthew Modine as a young Marine. This movie says more about the military itself, rather than the conflict in which it participates, exposing the dehumanization process that begins in boot camp training, and ultimately sees its tragic end in the extreme, cruel theatre of the battlefield. According to an interview with Vincent D'Onofrio, the production schedule for the film was so drawn out that the lead actor, Matthew Modine, got married, conceived a child with his wife, the child was born, and then turned 1 year old, all during the course of filming.
Delta 6 actual, this is Murphy.
Apocalypse Now, 1979. Francis Ford Coppola's war epic is inspired by Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness, changing the novel's setting from the Belgian Congo to the Vietnam-Cambodia border. Martin Sheen is a disaffected army captain who is assigned a secret mission to go deep into the jungle and take out a Green Beret colonel named Kurtz, Marlon Brando, who has gone rogue and become a local god. This movie exposes the insanity and absurdity of war and the way in which it can change anyone. More than a year had passed between the filming of Willard and Chef searching the jungle for mangoes and encountering the tiger, and the immediately following shots, part of the same scene, of Chef clambering back onto the boat, ripping off his shirt and screaming. The Deer Hunter, 1978. Michael Cimino's majestic war movie earned 5 Oscars, Best Picture, Director, and Supporting Actor for Christopher Walken. 3 friends from a small Pennsylvania town enlist and go to Vietnam, ultimately captured by the North Vietnamese and imprisoned. They are forced to play Russian roulette for the entertainment of their captors. The Deer Hunter is a great film about the Vietnam War, depicting not just the hell of war, but the ways in which it breaks the psyche of those who experience the horror of war. Co-writer and director Michael Cimino convinced Christopher Walken to spit in Robert De Niro's face. When Walken actually did it, De Niro was completely shocked, as evidenced by his reaction. In fact, De Niro was so furious about it, he nearly left the set. Cimino later said of Walken, "He's got courage." Forrest Gump, 1994. The history of the United States from the 1950s to the 70s unfolds from the perspective of an Alabama man with an IQ of 75 who yearns to be reunited with his childhood sweetheart, including his time in the Vietnam conflict. Like so many of his age at the time, a memorable and unforgettable story that has long-term effects. When Forrest gets up to talk at the Vietnam rally in Washington, the microphone plug is pulled and you cannot hear him. According to Tom Hanks, he said, "Sometimes when people go to Vietnam, they go home to their mamas without any legs. Sometimes they don't go home at all. That's a bad thing." That's all I have to say about that. A humorous look at America during the Vietnam War period. We Were Soldiers, 2002. The first story of the first major battle of the US chapter of the Vietnam War, and the men on both sides that fought it, while their wives wait nervously and anxiously at home for news of their loved ones. The real Joseph D. Galloway stepped out of the movie theatre during a scene, but still approved the film. His explanation was, That was my nightmare for 36 years. I don't want to see it again. Sam Elliott became so close to the real Basil L. Plumley and his family that during Plumley's funeral, with military honours, Elliott sat in the front row beside Plumley's daughter as she received the folded flag. Non-stop battle action, helicopter-borne warfare. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think in the comments. I appreciate your likes and subscribers. Hit the notification button to get my new videos. Take a look at my channel and check out my Facebook page. The links are in the description. I am Wrangler. Bye for now. See you again soon.
Interesting facts about famous people.